All right. Well, we're back. Podcast. It's been a great week. Lots of weather going on, rain. People have been dealing with snow and wind and all kinds of things. And we're still doing church. And this last weekend, Hunter held it down in Morgan Hill. Especially we had Rick Suklis up at Foxworthy. He did a great job too. But we have Hunter, who's our young adults director here, talked about love. You talked about love this last week, which is a big topic in Scripture, but also an important topic for yourself. How kind of share with people like why talk about love other than it seems simple,
right?
It seems like an easy one,
right? Yeah, I think for me, like, well, when Justin and Will were like, "Hey, we have this 1 week, and we're kind of looking for a topic. What do you want to teach on?" This one immediately came to me because this has just been so important for me. I think growing up, I grew up as a Christian, right? I've known the Lord as long as I can remember. But I think for a lot of us, right, even if you grow up in that, you understand that Christianity is a religion, right? So it comes with certain beliefs, certain actions, certain obligations, all of those things. But I remember when God kind of just got a hold of my heart and he just kind of told me, man, like, it's not about the rules and the obligations or any of those things. And I think we often talk about having a relationship, but it's still in the context of that religion.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that really shifted things for me was God is there and he loves you. And that means he wants to be with you. He doesn't just want to, produce certain actions out of you.
Right.
He actually loves you. Like he wants you. And then the flip side of that too is there was this shift that had to happen in my head where Christianity isn't just something that I do, it's a person that I love.
Yeah.
And that really it changed everything for me, thinking about how God, not only does he want me to love him, but he is lovable. Like he's someone who is literally, we're designed to love him.
Right.
The deepest longing of our heart is devoted to him, and he made us that way. That changed everything for me.
Yeah.
Because, man, when you're living in a way that's, trying to do all the right things, and then you realize that you're not just supposed to do those things, you're supposed to want to do those things.
Right.
They're supposed to come out of you naturally, not because of an obligation that you feel, but because of a love that you have. That totally turned my Christianity upside down, and it put things on kind of the right lens of understanding this stuff that's coming out of me, these things that God is asking of me are not because he needs something from me, but because that he wants me to see him and to know him deeply and intimately. So that changed everything for me.
Yeah, I think it's not just that. Like he knows, one, he loves us, but he knows that loving him is what we're designed to do, and that acting in love is the perfect way for us to live. So it's doing all of those things together. And I think that's just a huge shift that we always make, especially in the American church. I only know the American church, but I don't, it's hard. We live in a video game culture and an app culture that you're always trying to level up. You're always trying to do the things you can to get to the next level. And I think it just kind of gets placed, those same kind of expectations sometimes get placed in our relationship with Christ. Like if I do these things, I will level up. If I attend enough, if I'm in a small group, if I'm serving, if I'm giving, if I'm reading my Bible, if I can check all the boxes, I'll level up.
Right.
And I think we naturally gravitate towards that. And none of those things are bad in and of themselves until we're using them to think we're going to level up. And when actually what God wants us to do is just love him and level up in our love of him and in our relationship with him. And that will unlock, doing those things out of love and not out of obligation. So yeah, I think I know you think I don't think this is true, but like, you're like, this has unlocked my spiritual life in a big way. Yeah. But it's also going to be something you probably are going to have to continue to come back to, because I know I do, and I'm a few decades ahead of you. And because it's so easy to lapse back into, I just need to read my Bible today because I have to.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. And I think that's why I wanted to come back and talk about it, because it's such a simple thing, right?
Right.
Like we talk about this stuff from the pulpit in and out of it, week to week, right? Because we think it's so important, that your heart condition before God is so important. But then just every once in a while, sometimes we just need someone to kind of sit down, spend the time, and just say, hey, let's get back to the heart. Right. Because we talk about these other things, but maybe let's just take a week, let's just take a week and dig back into this. And so given that opportunity, I'm always like, hey, let's hit on this again. Right. Because you're right. We lapse into just thinking about it's just checking the box, or that kind of legalistic attitude that we have. We're trying to puff ourselves up and feel better about ourselves, when in reality, it's just growing deeper and deeper in that relationship.
Yeah. Again, it sneaks up on you. I don't think we do it.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we do it intentionally. I think it's just the way our hearts start leaning a certain way. It's one of those heart checks we have to do all the time. Well, like I said, love's a big topic. So when you're putting this message together, like you had 5, or some people would say 6 points, depending on which service they went to, because I heard you kicked one out.
Yeah.
But how did you decide what you wanted to, what aspects of love did you want to hit on, with this one-shot message?
Yeah. Yeah, me and Justin, we talked earlier that week, because I've been prepping this message for a couple of weeks, because we wanted to kind of get some feedback and look at it for a little bit together. And but Justin and I had talked a little bit earlier in the week just about crafting the message and polishing it out. And again, this is a topic that when I kind of discovered this idea of love, it was a discovery for me. It might not have been for everyone, but it was a discovery for me to really find this topic. I threw myself into it completely. And so I've spent several years just reading and writing on the topic, doing really extensive research, because I think, kind of like what you said earlier, it's something that we think is obvious, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about love a lot, but I think a lot of us, we tend to assume that we all just have the same definition and we all understand it from the same perspective. But if you, over the last few years, talking with people, you begin to realize, people have really different, sometimes really skewed versions of what love is and what it means.
Or they don't even realize what they love.
Right.
So, your friends or your spouse or your family or your boss could tell you what you love.
Right.
And probably pin it better than you could yourself. Like, you can talk to people and be like, man, you really love this sports team, or you really love youth sports, or really love this restaurant, or you really love, Reels, or, your Instagram account, or like you can figure out, again, we don't see it ourselves.
Right.
Like, you could ask Jen, what are the things Justin really loves? I hope she would have Jesus up there at some point.
Yeah.
I hope that she has herself on there, and I hope that my kids are on there. And then she's probably going to rattle off some other things that I love to do.
Yeah.
That maybe
like a Giants sweatshirt.
Yeah, I like the Giants. She knows baseball's coming. She knows that that's going to change our family. But there's just, you can tell by what people give their time to, because everybody loves something, and then their definition of love is very different in the sense that, I think you might actually love that sports team more than you love other things, because you're giving more time to that. You love that youth sports team more than you might even love, your spouse, because it's getting all of your attention and all of your finances and all of your time, and it's monopolizing your family. And so we have different definitions of love. And then we could always go into people who say, I love pizza and I love whatever, and go, well, I think that's different when you come to spiritual life. And when Jesus tells us to love God and love our neighbor, I don't think he's telling us to like them a lot. I don't think he's telling us to just care about, the Lord. I think he wants us to love them like we love the Super Bowl.
Right.
And we want to love him the most and love other people the most and put them on a pedestal. So, I think love's an interesting topic.
It is
for us.
Let me touch on something you said in there too. Like, again, sometimes we love things, and those other things that we love, depending on what it is, it's shaping for us. It's shaping to us, right? So like, I'm not trying to pick on you or anything, right? But right, if you're a Giants fan, right, part of the way you love your team is you wear a sweatshirt for it, right? And I think depending on what that thing is, those organizations or those loves, they ask us to participate in a certain way. But
it cost us something.
Right, they cost us something.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that gets a little twisted sometimes is then we come to like something like our relationship with God, and we bring some of those practices from other places. And that's not necessarily wrong by all means. You know, if God has called you to love in that way, by all means. But there's also this other piece of it where loving God and loving people looks like, you know, experiencing forgiveness.
Right.
Giving people grace, you know, having the Bible shape your understanding of what right love is, because sometimes, you know, we have certain experiences, especially, you know, from our families, that's supposed to be the place where we experience the most deepest love.
Right.
But sometimes even our experiences of our families, they train into us ways of practicing love that are different. Absolutely. Or they're unhealthy, or we need to dig deeper into those things and see how God would have us live our lives in our families, have us practice our faith. And so it's a really kind of deep idea. And again, it comes at us in a way, you know, oftentimes we don't see it and we wouldn't expect. But you're right, those practices, they shape us.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And one place that you could have started, and we didn't. We had Hunter practice a couple weeks ago, and kind of went over his message. And I didn't give you this feedback, so I didn't expect you to say this. But one place you can always start when you talk about love is in 1 John. John says God is love.
Right.
Like that's the definition. And I think we just miss out on understanding that or resting in that truth that when we love in the right manner, and when we love God in the right manner, when we love each other and care about each other in the right manner, anybody, even the neighbor that we don't know, you know, when we love them or we value them, even from afar, that's a person made in God's character or in God's image. And I need to care about them because God cares about them. So you may not have real, you know, romantic love for them or brotherly love for them, but on a certain spiritual level, you realize everybody has the image of a God imprinted on them, and God cares about them. And so it's so important that when we do those things, and we're not just connecting to other people, we're connecting to God, and God is love. And so we could have started. I mean, we could have talked about love.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
From a lot of different angles and from a lot of different spaces, and so it's a huge topic, and it's not easy. You know, it's a challenge.
No, it's a huge topic, and I spent a lot of time again working on this topic and learning what are all the different ways you can talk about love, and just to kind of bring us to one of the questions that you asked me earlier about how I prepped the message. It was interesting, right? Because I prepped the message and I had worked on this for a few weeks, and I worked through all the issues in my head, the things I wanted to hit on, and I picked my points. And then on Thursday night, I preached at the Morgan Hill campus, and I taught it and I loved it. And then I walked out, and there's a lot of people who, you know, this is nothing against anyone on Thursday night or even Sunday morning, right? But they gave me a pat on the back and they said, "Hey, great job."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it feels good.
It feels good to do a great job. But as I was thinking about that, I was like, you know, I want the sermon to be polished. I want people to know that I did a great job. But I also want people to know that this was relevant for them, right? This actually does shape us. And so I was sitting in the first row before the second service, and I'd kind of gotten the same response for that morning 8:45 service. They said, "Yeah, good job." And so, but I was sitting in that front row, second service, and I really wanted people to see that loving God is a great experience. It's just the best. It's so deep. It's so rich. And I was thinking back to, I had been wanting to add a story, but the story just wasn't coming to me. I was trying to figure out what would be a great testimony of this experience of just falling in love with Jesus. And I thought of my missionary friend, and I added her story right at the end of my sermon last minute, because I was sitting there and I was just like, man, what people need to know is that, yes, you were made to love God. You're made to love people, all of those things. But at the end of this, you have to know that, like my friend who is an older missionary, that even what you have left, maybe the last part of your life, if you give that to him, and we all have things in our lives, right? We all have the last part of our lives that we haven't given.
Sure.
But if you give that to him, he just brings so much fruit and power and joy in that experience. And I just felt the Spirit impress that on my heart and say, that's the story you need to tell, because people need to know that. And I'll tell you, the people that came walking out of that sermon, Sandy Shepard, who works in the office for us, I love Sandy. She had seen me preach it on Thursday night and Sunday morning, the second service. And she came out and she said, you know, what you taught on Thursday night, I wasn't sure if that was for me. And then she came out on second service and she said, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like that was for me, because that's what people want. They want that experience. I want to fall in love. I want to experience that joy in my relationship with God, because it's just a powerful, overwhelming experience.
Yeah. And for most of us, we have that on the initial, right, infatuation with Christ. We say yes to Christ and we're like fired up. And then, you know, spiritual life is a journey. Life is a journey. You go have some up and downs in any relationship, but we want to keep coming back to that first love. Yeah. We want to keep coming back to God and knowing that unhitching ourselves from the things of this world, and even unhitching ourselves from that definition of love that we have in Silicon Valley. Yeah. Like I don't want people to think that I love the Giants. I actually haven't been to a Giants game in like 3 years. It's really like hard. Like I'm not giving my time that way. I've watched a lot of Giants games, so Jen will tell you that. Still watches a lot of games.
All the Giants fans are judging you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, Justin, you're not a real fan.
I don't love them. I want to be known to love God and love my family and love my friends and do those things. And I want them. I don't want to use that word the wrong way, because I think the world is watching how Christians talk about what they love, and hopefully we're saying we love Christ and that it's the best thing. It's better than anything this world has to offer. I thought you did a great job communicating that. It's the right thing to do, to listen to the Holy Spirit and say, you know what? This story might be more important than that 6th point. And so it's hard to do that, right? Like, I think I need to set this aside. And I know Hunter has dove deep into this topic, and he's written a lot about it. And so I think you'll hear more from him on that. And so appreciate him. Just so you know, young adults, Morgan Hill campus, typically Sunday nights, 6:30.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So they're here. Doors are open. There's food. There's fun. There's worship and study and fellowship and all of those things. So make sure you get people there. It's a really sweet time. Yeah. And
if you have questions, next week we're covering again the topic of evil and suffering, because it comes up for us, right?
Good for you, because I'm tired of preaching about that twice a year, it seems like.
Yeah, but if you're a young adult and you want to come hang out and you want to talk about that topic, it's always pressing in upon us, because, look, guess what? You don't live in a perfect world.
That's right.
And it'll spit in your face and confront you all the time. And so we just want to talk about that again, because we think it's important for you.
Awesome. Well, we will see you this week. Thursday nights, our weekend start at Morgan Hill at 6:30. And then we have our Foxworthy campus and our Morgan Hill campus firing away on Sunday morning. And we can't wait to see you there. Have a great week.